This week, we're going to talk about FTP and how you can upload your research files or real-time products to an FTP server with FTP lib. Welcome to another MetPy Monday. Hello, I'm John Lehman, a software engineer for Unidata. In the last few weeks, we had talked about creating dynamic pages and dynamic graphs using Dash, but a really common use case is you've used something like MetPy or Matplotlib to create a plot or a map, and you just want to upload it to an FTP server so it can be viewed on a website as a static image, or maybe you've got an animator paired with that. This is a relatively simple task, and it can be done using FTP lib in Python. This week, we'll look at pure FTP, and then we'll talk about some other ways that you might be able to get your content out next week. So first, you're going to create a myhost, mypassword, and myuser variable. That's what I'm going to use here. Obviously, I've blurred out the credentials, so you don't use my login to an FTP server. But you can just create these variables in your notebook. Next, from FTP lib, we're going to import the FTP object. Notice this doesn't really follow Python's naming convention in that it's all capital letters as it stands for File Transfer Protocol. So that's just something to watch out for. Now you can create an instance of the FTP object and then call methods like login on it. But the way that I prefer to do it is to use the context manager. This is a cleaner way. It automatically closes the FTP connection for you so you don't accidentally leave connections dangling open and are waiting for them to time out on the server. So with FTP, so this is our context manager, for my host, the user is my user. The password, which they abbreviate as PASSWD, is my password. Then we give that a name, given that's a context manager, so as, and I'm going to call it lowercase FTP. Let's just do a simple operation like a list of our directory, so a dir. Now we can see here that user MetPy demo, there's a mail directory and there's some logs, and that's all that we've got in those two directories. But what I want to do is actually upload a file, rename it, and I'm going to re-download that file, and then I'm going to delete it off the server. So we'll do several operations here, all the common ones that you would probably do. Maybe you make some real-time maps, you upload them. Later on, you're going to move them to an archive, so we're going to re-download those, and then you're going to remove them and replace them with a new file. All right, so I'm going to use this exact same code cell here, but now we're going to add to it and store our file, which is temp.png. So I'm going to use another context manager with open temp.png. I'm going to read that as a binary as an object named f. Now, you can do non-binary operations, but if we read and write as binaries, this is going to let us use the regular store and retur commands. So ftp dot store, S-T-O-R, binary. And our command is going to be store temp.png. And where's that coming from? It's coming from our file object f. Then outside of the context manager, we'll reprint ftp.dir. I'm going to put some stars in there to help separate this visually for us. And let's see what we get. All right, so we see above the stars, there's just the maildir and logs, and afterwards we have temp.png. So now what we want to do is rename that file. And we're going to do that using ftp.rename. And this is one of the methods where we don't actually have to use FTP syntax in here. We just tell it, I want to take temp.png, and I want to rename it to myplot.png. Again, we'll print some stars and ftp.dir. So there we had temp.png, we uploaded it again, and now we've renamed it as MyPlot. All right. So that worked without any problems. But now what if I want to retrieve that, and then I want to delete MyPlot off the server? So I'm going to go ahead and do this in a new set of cells here. I'm going to copy my context manager. Now open, and I'm going to call it on my local system archived plot.png. That's going to be a WB for write binary because we're now trying to write a file. FTP.retr for retrieve binary. The command would be retr myplot.png. And then the method that we're going to use, which is f.write, to take the bytes that come back from the FTP server, we're going to pass those to f.write, which will save them as a file. Okay, we'll go ahead and then print our ftp.dir, print our stars to separate things for us. Then we're going to call ftp.delete myplot.png, ftp.dir. All right, so now if we were to look on our local file system, we would see that we downloaded MyPlot as archivedplot.png, and we see here that MyPlot existed before and after did not exist. So if we want to rerun everything in sequence here, we would see no file, then there's the file temp.png, then it's renamed. Down here we have it, we saved it locally, and we deleted it. So this is a full round tripping of bytes from our local machine up to the FTP server, and then back, and then we cleaned up the FTP server. Like I said, this is a great way to update content on a website, or just a way to automatically store model runs or anything else on an FTP server that you have access to. I hope that you found this useful, and I'll see you on next week's MetPy Monday.